Well, hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Ladies and Gents Listen Up. And man, we have been getting some amazing comments back from some of the viewers. So before we get started, though, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Share this information with somebody else, but more importantly, hit that subscribe bell. Alrighty, how are you today, Mr. Carpenter?
I am doing well, Dr. Liz. And how about you?
I am doing well. I'm excited about our maybe a little bit of a controversial topic today. I'm not sure. We're going to talk about men versus women. Is there a fear of commitment? Hmm.
Interesting.
Before right. Well, before we jump into the topic, we're gonna two things we're gonna tackle. We're going to talk a little bit. Let's go to our viewers' comments first, right? And thank you all for your comments, for your for your text messages and such. So we had two comments that we're going to talk about from our last episode. And one of the viewers' comments, it was actually on the 7 stages of a loving relationship. We had a comment from, okay, I hope I don't butcher your name. I really hope I don't butcher it, but I believe it's Corinjoe Harris. Okay, it says Corinjoe Harris. I believe that's correct. If it's not, blame it on my head, not my heart. She says very good information. So she got a lot out of the last podcast. Then we had another, and thank you so much for that, Ms. Harrison.
That's DC crew, by the way. I think that's the ladies from DC.
What is the? Do you have the correct pronunciation of her name?
I say Carolyn.
There we go. There we go. Awesome, awesome. Okay. And then we also had a comment from John in Michigan. And his is a little bit, it kind of tickled me when I read it. He said, ladies, preserve the fantasy. I love the hair, lashes, the makeup. No need to share too much. LOL. Don't want to see the stocking caps. I said, okay. All right. So again, that's actually communication and just learning what your other or what your partner's love language is, right? We talked about some of, when it's appropriate to start sharing certain things and such. So that was one of the comments. Thank you so much, John, for your comment. So let's run on over to Grandma's cookie jar and grab a nugget of wisdom out and see what Grandma's cookie jar has to say to us today. And it says, be inspired. Be inspiring. That's good. That's good. And on the back it says, life is too short to wait. Wow, that kind of goes into the fear of commitment, doesn't it? Life is too short to wait. All righty. Well, I did a little bit of research from Very Well Mind and talked about, go ahead. What are you going to say?
Go first. Go first. I was still writing Grandma's cookie jar notes.
Oh, okay. Now you got to go back and watch the beginning. All over again.
I wrote it down. I got it. Trust me.
You got it? Okay. All right. Well, Very Well Mind talked about the fear. Is there a fear of commitment? And it talked about self-sabotage or sabotaging the relationship if you have a fear of commitment. It talked about some of the damages or how you can damage a relationship if you have a fear of commitment. So we often talk about, going back and just figuring out where we are and getting ourselves to a healthy position or healthy place before we decide to go into a relationship. So go ahead. I'll bounce the ball into your court.
Okay, before I start, once again, I want to say thank you, Dr. Liz, for letting me be a part of this. And thanks for actually putting this information out in the community. Based on our viewers, they're seeing the value that this podcast of yours is doing. So I appreciate that and thank you. Now,
thank you.
I also want to take a time out to thank and congratulate all those that's graduating from school and graduating from college. Matter of fact, I'm on the road right now for a college graduation myself. So this time of year is so much going on, and there's so much anxiety. And going to our subject today, talking about men versus women, the fear of commitment. From everything I've researched, is saying that it's kind of equal. It's saying both women and men have a fear of that commitment because it's how you look at it and what's going on. Also, the world today. This is a changing world which we live in now. The fear of disease, the fear of death. It's so much out there now. So the relationship would have to be impacted behind it. Anxiety can be everything from, and now I'm gonna give someone else control of my life. Because once you start to love and start to give yourself, there is so many different factors. It's no longer you making decisions for yourself. Now your decisions have to be filtered for what do the group, what do the union, what's important for the union of you two. It's Let's talk about what you want to talk about first, how men see it or how women see it.
Well, we can. I mean, let's go ahead. Let's talk about how men see it, because what you just made that point about back in the day, we always heard that it was the men that had the fear of commitment, and now you're changing that to say no, maybe we should think about that. It's on both sides where both can be afraid of that commitment. So I would love to hear. Let's go. Let's hear what the men have to say about, or what you have to say about men and fear of commitment.
Okay, now commitment is two sides of commitment. One side of commitment is if we're just dating and just have a relationship. If we're just in a relationship, that's one level of commitment. The other level of commitment, if we marry, that's a second level and it's an altogether different level. So let's deal with first the commitment of being boyfriend, girlfriend, or just being exclusively you two as a union. That part, the men, I think the men, we don't have a problem with that part. For the most part, we don't have a problem with that, because you want to be committed to somebody, because you want somebody to be committed to you, and you want to know that you have that special boo that you can depend on, that's going to give you the things you need as you give her the things she needs. So that level of commitment, we don't have a problem with that. As a matter of fact, it's a blessing to have someone that you can look up to and realize that someone that's supporting you, someone that's right beside you, and y'all go through and travel life together. So that's great.
Yeah,
that part, no problem.
That's good. That's a good sort of paradigm shift, because oftentimes, in what I'm hearing feedback too, and from my own experience, oftentimes I'm gonna throw a little bit of in there. Oftentimes it's what do you call it? Variety is the spice of life, and I think that's where sometimes the commitment comes in. Not committing comes in at what we've experienced, or in what I've heard of women experiencing, that men want a variety. Can you speak to that a little bit?
I was, and this is having some fun with this. This is having some fun. I was on Facebook the other day, and I was on this lady's page, and someone had told me I was on this lady's page. This lady said that, hey, if a man want variety of life, they're all in me. She said I could be 6 different women, and each one of them have a different name and character. She said I can be Shirley, I can be Jane, I can be Marisa. She said, and you get a different woman every time. That's just having fun, okay?
That's the adventure of the relationship. I like what you said though, the commitment of, of that person, you guys coming together and you're committing to one another, but that variety is a great thing, being able to change it up and being able to be different, new, refreshing, or whatever. So, hey, I like her page already. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that was interesting to me, and she went on further, and she was giving some examples, and she showed her hairstyle, she showed her makeup. She actually looked like different women, and she had different personalities.
You can do that.
Yeah, and she didn't seem like she was crazy. So it seemed like she really meant from a good spot. She came from a good place. She came from love out of her heart and wanted to keep her relationship together. So she was willing to do the work and be committed and give her boo what he needed to continue in that relationship.
That's a great point though. That is a great point. Being able to really understand your partner, and being able to, or being willing to give your partner what they need, and you in exchange getting what you need. That's the ebb and a flow, a great balance. So I mean, I know it was kind of hilarious, kind of funny, but it's the truth though. It's just being real, if you will, right?
Yes. Yeah. So that part is there. So in a relationship, not marriage, but in a relationship, men don't have a problem. We're okay with that. We're good. We're good because we both have, I have my life, she has her life. Things that's important to her, she do. Things that's important to me, we spend the time together, and we spend the time separate. Because always girls have to have girlfriends and guys have to have guy friends. You got to do things with the same sex, as well as that with your boo. Not the same things, but you got to go shoot basketball or hang out at a pool hall or whatever guys do, and then whatever girls do. You got to have the girls trips and all that kind of stuff. That's healthy. That's healthy.
Yeah, I'm
And that
glad
makes
you brought that out.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, no. I'm glad you brought that out because it is important. It's necessary. But I think everything keeps going back to the part about being in a healthy space, because some people don't want you to go out and don't want you to experience those things. They want you just right here with me. And I think the point is that's suffocating. That what do you call it? Puts out the fire in a relationship, because you have to be able to go out and be free and bond with your, male counterparts or with your female counterparts and enjoy that time together. Because, sometimes we'll grab our partner and think that, okay, the partner needs to be every single thing. So I should share my girlfriend stuff with you. And, oftentimes men don't want to hear the girlfriend stuff, or oftentimes, men need to go out and, like you said, shoot basketball or do whatever it is that they do and just be able to be a man. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
I think that's a great point, to be able to have that freedom to do that and not feel guilty, because sometimes people put guilt on you to say, you're not spending any time with me and da 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 when you are doing those things. So coming from a healthy space, I think that's great.
Right. We call that person clingy and needy. We we don't need that in our relationship, because that's not, like you said, that's not healthy. Now
Right.
let's pivot now to the marriage side of a man's relationship. Now in a marriage, it's a little different. It's a little different. I think men are afraid of commitment in that respect, because for the most part, men we feel when we marry the lady, for some reason, that relationship, you seem like you're gonna lose something. You gain a lot. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want women to say that guy crazy. I'm not saying you gain a lot when you get married. You gain an awful lot, and it's very beneficial, it's profitable in your soul to marry. But still, there's a fear of commitment on the guy side, because a lot of times when you get married, you wonder, are you gonna lose your friends? Are you being married? Or now your single friends, are they out? When you get married, now do you have to worry about your hobbies? If I had a hobby of going golfing all the time by myself and always gone, doing that, am I going to have to now cut down on golfing? Am I going to have to now, I can't go to the fights? All these hobbies and interests I had now, how do they pair with my new marriage? Am I going to have to give a lot of this up? And those are things a man think about. So a man is kind of that word stoic. We're kind of built that we're kind of self-contained a lot. And when you marry, now you got to peel some of those layers off, and now that's a fear.
Right.
I hope I said it right. Did you quite get what I was saying?
Yeah. No. I got what you. I got what you said. I got what you meant. But it's still like, I think it still comes to a balance, right? When you talk about a balance, so still being able to, because while you're out doing your golfing and doing some of those other things, she's out doing some of the things that she likes to do. And I think that's where that, when we talked about that having that conversation, and as you're going through the courtship to get to the marriage part, as you're going through that courtship, you're learning these things about one another. But you're also, we talked about men requiring respect and women requiring love. When you talk about that, I think it is respecting each other's space, and not, saying, okay, well, you used to golf, okay, then why shouldn't you be able to still golf if that's something that you love to do? It shouldn't be that you can't do it anymore. You may have to do it in, a little bit more of a balance if you're always on the golf course or something. But just having that balance, and then, like you said, all of the benefits that you're going to gain from being married. That's what being married. We talked about the cake, having yourself all together. So what you're bringing to the table is a fully baked, amazing, delicious cake. You're bringing it to the table, and they're bringing it. So now you don't have to, you are the icing and they're the icing. So you have a great balance. I think that's what it's all about, is balance. Not like I have to give all of this up, but balance. And if you're coming into the marriage with integrity, with character, we talked about out loving one another being the only competition. These are all, like we say, is work. These are all the steps that it takes to get there, but both parties be it on that same page. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's good what you said about, okay, yeah, well, we love to travel. Let's travel some together. Like my youngest daughter, she has it like down pat. I mean, I'm like, wow. I tell her that all the time because they travel as a family. Then they have sometimes they spend alone. I mean, not alone, but with their prospective like male friends, female friends. And then it's family time. It's all of these little pockets. So everything is all the categories are being satisfied.
Now, you brought up an interesting point. Not only is it men that's in commitment, in that marriage, they feel a certain way. Now men in marriage feel a different way. Now you just bridge something else, the age gap. The age gap. Younger people are more are how do I say that? I think younger people are less likely to have a fear of that commitment, because the world has offered them so much now. The world is so much. They can travel, they can do so many things, amazing things together, and they're not set in patterns. They're not set in patterns. The older people, and I'm not gonna say me and you, like me and you, Dr. Liz. I'm gonna just say the older people. The older people are more rigid and more set in patterns. So when you start, especially start a new relationship at older age, you're giving up a lot, not just the normal stuff. Now you're giving up a lot of patterns that's ingrained in you. You got a lot of ingrained habits, and your ingrained habits are hard to change, especially elderly people. So there's a lot you have to realize, that it's not so much a fear of commitment, just that the ingrained patterns are so difficult to change or break.
I think it's also a mindset, right?
Yes.
It's a mindset, and it's also thinking about the things that is it that are we thinking about the things that we fear that we're going to lose, or the things that we are going to gain? Because we talked about how when you are in a loving relationship, things are better. Like the sky is bluer, the grass is greener, and your heart is even expanded, right? Your heart is pumping a different kind of flutter, right? So it can if you're thinking about it, and if your mindset is, oh my gosh, I'm afraid of all these things that I'm losing, then of course there's going to be a fear, and but if you're saying, wow, but this is all that this person is going to bring to my life, to enhance my life. You know what I'm saying? Like all of these things that I'm going to gain, and the things that I feel like I'm going to lose. Well, we're in a good relationship where we can really talk and work things out and negotiate things so that it's a win-win. So actually, it's like when people say I'm getting married. It's how you think about it. Am I gaining a son or a daughter, or am I losing my son or daughter? I think it's all in your mindset and how you see things, and what it is that you really want, right? Because sometimes we'll get into something and say, okay, get into like going to a marriage, but based on everybody, you're supposed to be married. It's supposed to be this. It's supposed to be that way, or based on everybody else's thoughts. Versus, what do you really want? Do you really want the companionship? Do you really want, a traveling partner? Do you really want somebody to work through life and help you get better, or fulfill your purpose and you help them? Is that what you really want? Or do you just really want to stay in that, in that pool of dating, if you will? It's just like really
Wow.
knowing what you want.
Let's peel this back. Let's peel this back a little bit. And I hate to get into the science of this, but the comment you get right now is talking about the science of it. So let's peel it back. I work for a lady by the name of Glenda Driver. She has a program called Recess to Healthy Relationships. And her comment always to me is, Rufus, you're gonna bust your head back to the white meat. So let's pull this back to the white meat. All right, that's the science of it. The science of it is that we're hardwired, as you said, for two reasons, for two different things. We're either gonna run from the pain that we're in. So there's a pain that we deal, and that pain point could be that we've accumulated all this stuff on this side and we don't want to let it go. So we kind of hold on to that. So we don't want to lose that. And then the other part of that is that you always run to pleasure. You're either running from pain or you're running to pleasure. A good balance is somewhere in the middle. But if you one-sided on that coin, if you're always running from pain, your mindset is a lot different when you go into a relationship. If you're running to pleasure, that mindset is totally different. So you've got to realize going to a relationship, what are you doing? Are you running from the pain of being sitting home Friday night by yourself, no one to talk to, and you're always miserable, you don't have any passion in your life, no joy, and I just got to be with somebody. I got to be with somebody. I get out of this. Or is you running to pleasure? Hey man, I just want to have a great time on our great relationship. I want somebody that we can do things with. I just want the moon. I want the sky. I want heaven. I want it all. You have to figure out the commitment based on either one of those.
That's good.
And that's the science of it. So you got to get a balance.
Exactly. What? We can go a little bit deeper in that when you talk about the science of it all, because what you just talked about was some of the, and I always go back to the work of things, because we're always, working on ourselves and helping ourselves to improve. So when you talk about one of the trauma responses of what you just kind of said, either running to pleasure or running from pain, that's a part of your trigger to know that you still need work. There's still some work that needs to be done, because the trauma responses are fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, right? Those are the four, right? So if you have those four things going on, and like when you're making your decisions based on that, then there's still some deeper work that you need to do, so that when you do decide, once you come to a healthier place, the decisions that you make are going to be different, and how you operate and how you move forward is going to be different. Even if you're stuck into some of your patterns, are those patterns trauma patterns because of some of the things that have happened to you before, or your level of trust, right? Are you able to trust? Is it just a whole thing about, okay, let me dig back, like what you said, peeling back those layers, so that you can really get to that healthy person that you are, so that you can offer that healthy person to somebody else, right? So understanding how you operate can also help you to understand, am I really ready to go into a relationship? And that would be a great topic for us to discuss. How do you know that you are ready to go into a relationship? Because other than that, you're going to keep doing the same thing. What do we say? Keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result is insanity. But if you're using the same patterns that you've been stuck into, using those same patterns to make those decisions, then that's not operating in truth, because you really don't even know what your true self is, or your authentic self is, to bring it to a relationship.
Yes, that's the sister to commitment. What you said, that's the sister to commitment. You're right. And the key word in there is triggers. And we're not going to work with that today, because you're right, that would be a separate podcast.
Absolutely. So absolutely.
We didn't talk about the guys enough. Let's flip this to the ladies. Come on, because I want to hear you talk about the lady side of commitment for a little bit. I'm gonna toss over you.
Actually, and again, I'm not. I guess this may not be very, very objective. I'm not really sure, because the ladies that I've actually talked with, some of my associates, some of the ladies that we get information back from, for the most part, because women are so nurturing, right? So women are so nurturing that they want to be in a committed relationship, right? Now, there are some women that, that have a different opinion of that, but I don't, that part of it I can't really speak to, because when you talk about the women that want the nurturing, and that's what I've been exposed to, and again, my own experience, they want that committed relationship, but the scales are kind of off balance, because oftentimes when they go into that committed relationship, they end up either, we draw it to us what we have. Like, so if we have a lot of hurt, a lot of trauma, a lot of what have you, we're attracting that to us. So we keep getting that same result. But for the most part, I'm talking to or hearing from a lot of women that do want that commitment, that do want that committed relationship. But I also think what you just said too, the age difference, right? Depending on what age group you're from and what you've been taught along the way, because the women of today are so different than the women in my generation, right? The women of well, you know, and then some. But so for the most part, I'm seeing, you know, they want the commitment and they want the you know, commitment in the relationship. You know, I'm again can only speak from the old fashioned courtship. You know, I talked about the courtship, so I would love to hear some comments from our viewers about this as far as the commitment. Because the thing, just not like you said, speaking from the woman's side of it, the commitment in a relationship, but then also going into a marriage. You know, being committed, being, you know, this is what, I know people don't like to say roles, but this is what role I play. But it's depending on what negotiations you and your spouse or your, you know, your mate come up with. What is it that I do best? What is it that you do best? And then we come together and we do that together. So there was a couple of things that I wanted to talk about when we talk about the fear of commitment. And if you have a fear of commitment, you can go into this sabotage in a relationship. You can say, "Oh, I really do want this relationship," but if you are carrying that or harboring that fear of commitment, then you can go into sabotaging a relationship and not even understand that you're doing it by causing distance. You know, by putting distancing yourself, not really opening yourself up. You know, having waves of hot and cold, and they're like, "What are you? I mean, today you're mad, today you're happy, no reason why, back and forth, right?" You want to add something before I go ahead with the
Yeah,
list?
because what you're saying right now is symptoms. You're
Mm-hmm.
giving symptoms right now. And today, I don't know why you're so deep today, Dr. Liz. Today you're deep, girl. I gotta pat you on the back. You're deep today. You're going deep. So you're talking symptoms because when you from in the first part of what you said, the first part of when you started the conversation about women, you said, and what a lot of studies saying, a lot of studies that said that men and women are equal, have a fear of commitment, both have fear of commitment. But it also pointed out what you're saying now. Women are raised and socialized to be nurturers, to care. And the part you're coming out now with the symptoms of self-sabotage, that's because a lot of women feel that they are so nurtured and so caring that they will lose themselves, and they're so occupied in giving their spouse, husbands, or mate what they need that they will lose themselves and won't get what they need in return.
And
It's an
oftentimes that happens,
unbalance. Yes,
right?
unbalance. So that's when the self-sabotage and all those things come, the symptoms come in. But the root cause is that ladies are socialized to be nurturers, and they nurture so much that the person that they're giving all this attention and care to won't return the favor, won't return in kind, that they will just sap the strength out of you, just sap everything out of you, and you lose who you are.
And oftentimes that definitely does happen. That absolutely happens. And that's why again, I talk about making sure that you're in a healthy space so that you feel like you can verbalize what you need. You can stop, and say, "Hey, I'm not feeling this," or "When you do this, this is how I feel." So you can have that good conversation so that you can get what you need. Because oftentimes women do get into relationships and then they lose themselves because they are nurturing and they're giving and they're doing and they lose themselves, right? And so in
Yes.
order so that, exactly what you're saying. So that could be the fear of commitment on the woman's side. I'm afraid to commit because I may lose myself. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So I guess one of the things, and like you said, I'm kind of deep with it today because I had some bullet points about, why a person, why a woman or a man would feel that they're, have that fear of commitment, right? And what that fear of commitment looks like. Because oftentimes people don't even know it. They think, "Oh yeah, I'm all into this relationship. I'm giving 1,000% and da 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 whatever." But if you have these little checkpoints or whatever, then it kind of bears the reason maybe you're not, and you might have that because sometimes we have that fear and don't even realize it. We say, "Oh, I'm ready for a relationship. I want to jump in. I'm ready for marriage and whatever," and you haven't really examined yourself, and that's why we get these 50% of marriages end in divorce. That's why we get these high
Correct.
statistics, Right,
Correct.
right. So yeah, so I think, I mean, from what I hear though, and what I've seen, a lot of women are ready for a relationship and they are ready for commitment, but your stats or your statistics say that maybe not.
Right, because my stats, all the studies I went through had two things that said that men and women are equal. They both have commitment issues, and they said that both of them the same reasons. One is because it makes you feel vulnerable. Was a major factor because your vulnerability. You feel so vulnerable when you give yourself to someone else. And the other one was emotional intimacy. These were the two main factors: feeling vulnerable and emotional. I can't. I'm
Intimacy.
all jacked up, man.
Emotional intimacy, you said?
Yes. I
Emotional
don't know why
intimacy.
every now and again songs I get it when I get thinking about this because there's so much involved. And for women and men, it's the same two things. It's the same exact two things. Go ahead.
But women are more emotional though, or they show their emotion more. Are you saying that I'm not understanding the equal part then? How can you be equal when women are more emotional, men are men are more physical, visually physical, and women are more emotional? So how can you have that same
It's
equal?
easy. It's easy. It's
Mhm.
easy. Women are more emotional, and that's let's say women are more emotional. So let's say
Mhm.
women have 75% emotion, and we're just giving it so make it easy. 75% emotional, and men are 25% emotional. No matter how you do it, the women's still going to be 75%. So the men always going to be 25%. So this is the men. If I'm only operating at 25%, that's all I know. That's all I know. So me and my little 25%, I'm emotional as heck with my 25%.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? I only have 25%. I'm only 25% emotional, but I'm gonna guard my 25% because that's all I got.
But then, okay, but then something's not clicking because then how is it equal then? If I'm more
it's
75%, go
it's
ahead.
not equal. It's not equal. It's nature. It's not equal. It's just that that's all my capacity is only 25%. If
Right.
you sit me all day long and teach me and train me and give me all kind of books, it's never going to be more than 25%.
Okay.
So because it's 25%, I that 20 in that 25%, I might have 75% of that 25% invested in this relationship, and I only have left out of that 25%, only another 25%. See what I'm saying? My 100% is only 25%. That
Okay.
25% represent my whole 100.
Okay.
So I'm operating with less because
Right.
I'm wired, and you're weird thinking, I'm wired for only 25% emotions, period.
Okay. Okay.
On my best day, it's going to be 25%. On my bad day, it may be 15 or 10%.
Okay.
But I can only have 25% emotions.
Okay. So
So
keep
that's
keep
me. When I'm at 25%, I'm playing full out
okay.
because that's all I got in me. That's all I got. That's my
I get
capacity.
okay, I get it. I get it. I'm still going back to your part of you saying that it's equal as far as fair commitment. I'm trying to understand that.
It's
Keep
equally
going.
because that's all I can bring to the table is 25%. So when I bring my whole 25%, I'm all in. The lady, she's 70, she has 75%. On her best day, she only gonna have 75% emotions.
Okay.
So when she come in and she bring the whole 75%, she's 100% in. So we both 100% in emotional bank. The woman is
Okay.
giving more because she has capacity to give more.
So how does that ever equal equal?
It's
It
equal.
can't.
I'm 100% in.
It can't.
She's 100% in.
We're debating this today. It can't be equal. If I'm bringing 75, 100 cookies, and I'm bringing 75% of emotional cookies, you're bringing 25% of emotional cookies. It can never be equal.
It's equal in the fact that I'm giving you all I had, and you
I
giving me
get
all you
that.
had. So it's equal then. You giving me 100% of yourself.
Okay.
And you're a business person too. I know your background is mostly business. Matter of fact, your background is truly business.
Okay.
And in business, you don't talk all the ways numbers. You talk percentages.
Mhm.
What
Okay.
percentage of this thing is done? 100% or 25%?
Okay.
The numbers are different. The numbers we could be talking about 1,000. We could be talking about 10. But
Okay.
the percentage of that 10 or the percentage of that 1,000.
Okay, I get it.
This is what we're talking about. The woman is 1,000, the man is a 10.
Okay.
100% of that 1,000 is whole 1,000.
Got it.
So when that lady bring all 1,000 of those things and put there on that in that contract, she's 100% in, right?
Okay, I got it.
And a man only have 10. That's all he'll ever have in his life is 10. When he put those 10 in that contract, he's 100% in that contract.
I got you.
100%
himself. We're gonna marinate on it.
No problem. Let's
move on.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Okay, let's move on.
Good stuff.
But let me lighten this up a little bit. And,
yes,
and this is
yes.
talking. This ain't science, so I'm putting science aside, and I'm talking Rufus now.
Okay.
Here's what I noticed: when a woman, especially a younger woman or any woman, a woman when they marry, they become freer. When a woman marry, they become freer because now a woman, let's say a young 18, 20-year-old girl, a young lady that fall in love in high school, fall in love in college. Since I'm going to college graduation today, let's say she's 22 years old and she's graduating from college. And let's say before she went to college, she lived with her mother and father. And her mom kind of set all of her expectations and all her rules and stuff like that. She knows when she graduates, she's going back home to live with her mother and father until she can figure stuff out.
Okay.
However, when she's back home with her mother and father, she fall in love with this guy from college. He said, "Hey, baby, hey, baby, you left when you went home, and I went home. I thought about you all. I can't live without you. I'm coming to get you. I'm coming to your mom and dad's house, ask your mom and dad for your hand, and we're gonna get married." Okay, great. Now this whole life, when they marry, this lady now, she went from being in another woman's household, her mom, which set all the rules and set all the expectations. Now she's going to her own household.
Right.
Now she gets to set the rules and expectations. So now she blossoms. She's freer.
But
now the fellow, the guy, and this is Rufus speaking, this ain't science.
Okay.
Now Rufus, he's been out there in the world having a great time, and now he's coming. Now he's a provider. He's the priest. He's the provider. He's the protector of this. Now he's 100%. Boom! I got this on lock.
Okay.
Now his mindset is, wow, now the whole weight of the world is on my shoulders.
Right, but that's why that's why she being the person to, like you said, the weight of the world being on his shoulders. It's a team. Again, it's the mindset.
Yes.
It's the mindset. Yes. It's the team that comes together to make that team greater, because just to say, if she's a stay-at-home, wife, just if she's a stay-at-home wife, just go there for a minute, right? Mm-hmm. But if she's helping him to be better or helping the team to be better, then every time he goes out, he's better because he's polished up, because he's well fed, because he is, he has a teammate to be able to talk and negotiate things with. Or what about the woman that is actually working and they're partners together? So the weight of the world doesn't have to necessarily be on his shoulders. So yeah, his role, protect, provide, and that, and her and love, and hers the same thing. So it doesn't have to just be like, again, it's how you're going into it. Is it that I'm gaining all of this, right? Or am I, wow, I'm taking all this home, oh my goodness, it's begrudging. It just depends on the mindset and where you are together and who your partner is and who you are. Is your partner there, in your corner and pushing you on, and your best cheerleader, your fan club, and you're the same for that person? It just depends. And I think that's where it comes in at, where it's like we're like, okay, he has to do everything, and all I'm gonna do is this. No, it's like, what are you guys negotiating? Like, what? I mean, it could be a whole nother podcast, because I can get into that part of how I think that it's like, no, it's not just the weight of the world on one person. Everybody has their different roles, but if you're doing your role best, she's doing her role best, then man, y'all got a team that is phenomenal. I just talk about my older daughter and her husband, and they're partners in business, and they're partners in raising their daughter. And I'm just sitting at awe, and I give them mad kudos all the time and tell them how proud I am of them because y'all jumped in and y'all are partners together. Y'all stand back to back, got each other's back, whether it's in the office or whether it's at the house. So it's no, I got to give up all of this in order to have this. No, I'm gaining all of this and a partner. So
you just got it. You just got it. Woman, I'm gaining all this in a partner. I'm gaining all this and a partner.
Both, on both sides, male and female.
Yes. Okay. But when think about it, because I got 5 sisters.
Got it.
And I noticed when I listen to their expectations about getting married and being married, and it's almost like the whole world just opened up. Like, wow.
But it should be that way for both. The world should open up for both. It's not that begrudging. It's what if you bring that begrudgingness into it, then
it's not begrudging. You think it's not begrudging. I'm not saying it's not begrudging because both, like you say, both have the roles. But what I'm saying is that it seemed like for me, and this is Rufus, this is not science. So it seemed like that it's like, man, wow. The world opens up more for the lady.
With the right partner. Okay, and that's you, and I have to respect your opinion of it. But the right partner will open up the world for both of you because you'll have the support that you need to accomplish everything that you need to accomplish, and she'll have the support that will accomplish everything that she needs to accomplish. So the world opens up for both, right? That's an ideal world. But again, that's with the right partner. With the wrong partner, you can walk yourself right into hell. But with the right partner, everything can open up for you.
What, Dr. Liz? I think I get a nerve.
No. It's excitement for me. It's excitement for me. It truly is because I know I've seen what it can be, and I've also experienced what I didn't. Well, I said the hell on that part because that's the truth. Opened up, that's what it was for me. But I did not get bitter, and I did not say that it is not possible to have the world open up for both parties. And I know we're getting down on time, but this is exciting for me because I stand firm on what I do believe can happen and what I saw happening.
Pull out Grandma's cookie jar, because this is a great time to pull out Grandma's cookie jar. Read those 2 things again, because I think right now we're back at that paradox where we started from, with men versus women with commitment. Who's the worst? I think we're there. Read Grandma's cookie jar, because Grandma's cookie jar is right now. This wisdom is right in place right now. Read that, because what it says.
We just had the War of the Roses. We had the War of the Roses today. Here we go. Be inspiring. Be inspired. Be inspiring.
So right there, that's one. So, all right, now let's read the second part.
And the second part said, life is too short to wait.
On that one, I'm going to drop the pen.
Drop the pen. Don't forget, you all, to like, share, and subscribe. Share this information with somebody else, because you never know what you're going to get from ladies and gents. Listen up. Y'all be fearless. Bye for now.